Welcome to episode 26 of the Ethos podcast, hosted by myself, Hayden Walduck, joined by my co-host, Simon Gojkovic. How you doing, mate?
Very good, mate. I do like the, nice little jab. Where did that come? That was from at least one of the European trips, I think. Is that where it came from, or was it one of the ATCs?
Man, I reckon it's from like 2015, 2016. Like maybe the first ATC we went to Greece.
Oh, WTC. Oh, ETC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was.
Back then.
Anyway.
Some just last the tale of time.
Yeah, kind of like, my wife or Big Head, their continual jibes about me getting us lost.
You did get us lost, though.
I'm not saying I didn't, but like even the holidays I just got back from, I only got us lost a couple of times, and yet it's the continual thing. It's like, of course, yeah.
Anyway, we are joined by our illustrious guest, Joshua McGowan. Hello, my friend.
How are we doing, guys?
Doing very well.
Thanks for having me.
We're super professional, you see. Like the intro immediately gets derailed.
And the half an hour of technical difficulties prior to, but we got here.
That's right.
Oh, all right. How about you just shut up, Josh? We're going to do some talking. This is not your podcast.
Done deal.
So, Simon, what's been happening with your life in 40k, mate? Besides getting your family lost in rural North Queensland?
I also got, I was kind of lost in central Queensland, so it's equal opportunity.
Wasn't just the rural areas.
That's exactly right. No. It was. I just got back. We were gone for 4 weeks, and yeah, definitely one of the best holidays I've had in my life. Enjoyed every moment of it, which was fantastic. It was recreating. I think I mentioned it last podcast, but it was recreating something I did as a kid. So my parents took us 4 kids to to Emerald, then up to Port Douglas. We spent some time in Magnetic Island, and then back down, like a halfway inland trip, and then up and down Queensland. And I wanted to do the exact same thing with my kids. Going to make a family trip, so to speak. And we went to Roma, Emerald, Charles Towers, a week in Port Douglas, a week in Atherton, a couple of days in Cairns, and then drove along. We got to see Magnetic Island. We didn't actually spend time there, but it was good. Fantastic holiday, and I couldn't recommend it enough. Let's just say that, especially during the winter. Lots of bushwalking, lots and lots of bushwalking.
Very nice. For all of you dads out there in the hobby, a bit of a foreshadowing here. There's a kids show on Netflix called Izzy's World about koalas on Magnetic Island. They rehab them, and I often find myself watching it with my oldest daughter because I get just about as into it as she does. So it's a nice area up there.
Yeah. And as for 40k, because the internet was terrible for most of the trip, I saw that rules had been dropped, but I literally was disconnected from the internet, we'll say, for like 2.5 weeks. So all the new stuff that was coming in, I didn't actually read any of the new rules until about 3 days ago. Like I watched a couple of YouTube videos on the way home because I had better internet at cities, but yeah, let's just say I'm not. I'm going to be having my first game of the new Nexus. What's it called? Prior Nexus, whatever.
Right, Prior Nexus, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to have my first game of that this afternoon. We'll be playing with a teammate of ours, Jacob, and he'll probably school me just because I don't know half the secondary missions. That's what you saw. It's like, does anyone have these secondary missions? I don't actually know what.
Apparently, the actual cards are sold out everywhere, so I'm gonna need to try and find some cards before the next event.
But so for 40k guys, I am now 2 days into the new rules. I have read them. I've kind of understood them. I've written a updated list for Dark Elder, so I'm definitely at the cutting edge. But for life stuff and dad and just resetting my clock, so I'm finishing up my 2 months of leave I've taken off. It's been good. I have a a new motto for the next kind of 10 years for my life, because I do things in, like, I call them epochs of my life. And so for the next 10 years, my motto is actually coloured in by my son, and it's right next to me here. I'm going to look on this piece of paper. It says, "Be uncomfortable, because I produce the most value I can for the world when I'm uncomfortable." And so for the kids' version of that, it would be kind of push yourself out of your comfort zone. But for me, it has to be not fucking be uncomfortable. Duck, what have you been up to, mate?
Nice little Simon's life motto to round us out there. I'm just getting slammed at work at the end of financial year, which is busy for the banking sector. Who knew? But winding down, getting ready to hand everything over and hang up my boots. So I can't be more excited for that. I can have a little bit of a temporary retirement, and it'll give me more time to play 40k and do a bit of 40k hobby.
Nice.
So I do have a bunch of commissions lined up for pretty much when I do stop working. So I'll be diving straight back into painting, which is fun, but the backlog's already sort of building up very, very fast. But that's all right. I love it, so I'll smash it all out. And then just been sprucing up some of my towel, because some of them are painted 4 to 5 years ago. I needed a bit of a touch up, a bit of a dust off, and little fixes here and there. Looking forward to WTC lists coming out, so that will be in the next couple of weeks or so. And the event coming up in a month or so. So I'm just waiting to see what the Greek Tau list is going to be this year. It's always the pinnacle of the submission for me when looking at WTC.
That's going to be for the rest of your life. Just like, okay, what's this Greek Tau list? And it's like a completely different person. Yeah. It doesn't make a difference. It's like, what's the Greek Tau?
He has some shoes to fill, and he better not fuck it up if it ever changes the mantle of Greek Tau player.
Yeah, and then the 1 year is like, okay, what's the Greek Tau? And they don't bring Tau. What the fuck?
There would be some protests, mainly outside of Eric's house, but there would be some protests.
What would be an acceptable substitute, though?
Nothing.
No, Votan. Votan plays very similar to Greek Tau. Like, if you just go like triple land fortresses and then...
So you could take 6 land forts in a list, 6 land forts.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, no, what's that called? The Space Marine one that's now, completely stuffed.
Pulsar.
Yeah. The one that was just nothing but car park. The Curry ran a bunch. Yeah. That's Greek Tau, pretty much, just in Space Marine form.
So not as cool.
Yeah,
but anyways,
yeah, not fish people.
Not blue. They don't go pew pew.
They don't have a pope. Oh, they kind of do. Imperial guys have popes. Anyway.
We don't even have a pope anymore. Anyways. Yeah, so our guest who's just been sitting there quietly twiddling his thumbs. Josh, this is the first time on your podcast, so you need to introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you doing? And why should people listen to you?
All right, well, I'm Josh McGowan. Pretty much been alongside you guys, for the scene of 29 years. So I started when I was 9 back in 2nd edition. Been running events since I was like 14. Worked at a gaming shop, so I handled all their RTTs and externals since about 14. So what's that, 23 odd years, 24 odd years. So, but yeah, pretty much I run majority of the larger events in Queensland and do all the gamings ones specifically, just because they're a bit weird and wacky when it comes to handling it all. But yeah, pretty much it. I was a rep like you guys. Simon handed it off to me, and then I handed it off to Duck. And then, pretty much it. So, but I don't know why people should listen to me.
That was
they shouldn't,
sucker.
really.
As I was leaving for Colombia, and I said, Here you go, McGowan. You know, I trust you. You can be the rep. We'll do the whole vote thing. Everyone, yeah, fuck yeah, of course McGowan should be. And as I'm literally handing you the keys, I'm just giggling to myself.
Yeah, you're like, you're it, suck it.
It's not keys you're handing him. You're basically handing him a primed grenade, and you're just like dangling the pin at him. Like,
yeah, no, it's like the keys to like, and it's got the what's it called, like the BMW thing, but it's just a sticker on top of a Datsun Sunny.
Yeah, it peels off.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, so I met you, at least the first time I remember meeting you. So like I probably met you before this, but the first time I remember meeting you was you were playing Quartermaster, and I was getting back into it. This is like 12, 14 years ago, and I came to a Quartermaster and just sat and watched Stacey Dennis play. And you were playing Elder against him. Yeah, I don't know if you were playing Elder or Imperial Guard against his Elder. It was one of those things. And anyway, I remember I was sitting just on the seat watching you guys play, and I remember some interesting things happened in that game. But the point, the point being, that was the first time I remember meeting you. But we probably would have met because if you were still, you know, with that whole crew. Do you remember when they did the grand tournaments at the City Hall?
Yep.
Yeah. So you would have seen me there because I won Player's Choice with that, you know, band army that I had.
Yeah, the Noise Marines.
Yeah, that one there. Yeah. So yeah, the Noise Marine one is when you would have at least known of my existence back then.
Yeah, no, it was a good looking army. That was the Noise Marine. Pretty much it's like the bands with the speakers and all that sort of jazz. Yeah. We didn't actually have a lot of events back then, on like all large scale events back then. So it's easy to track people when you first meet them. You know, back in the day, because it's like I'm like, remember that like one of 3 events we went to?
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah. So
like there was only a couple of clubs. Like I used to go to the Blind Pig. Like that's where I met Stacey and a whole bunch of other people. And my first foray when I was 16, because I used to work at Coles Garden City, and the Games Workshop opened in Garden City, and so I'd go in my lunchtime, spend like a week's worth of wage, just buying one blister, some metal gargoyles, and it's like, oh, excellent.
It was definitely cool, like, when you turn around and be like, all right, I've got, like, months worth of allowance or whatever, and you're just, like, going in. Did you have to... Do you remember actually doing the mail order before that? Where you actually sent in through the back of White Dwarf and get your...
I got parts from there. I wasn't... Yeah, again, I was, like, 16, and I'm like, oh, no, look, I've got the Games Workshop right here. Why do I do anything else? And they could order into the store, which I remember... doing that, but I do remember looking for like a specific part, and you could actually order just the part.
Just that part, yeah.
So I did do at least one of those orders where I got just the parts, which
they used to at like the big ones over in the UK and stuff. You could buy stuff by weight, so you go into like Warhammer World back then, like take a fistful of like tower parts, chug it into a bag, and you'd be able to walk out.
Nice.
Them were the days.
I just do that from my 3D printer back to my office now.
It's just like, how much liters of resin is this? Okay, cool. Yes. No, but I've got a whole bunch of the vouchers from your events, which we'll get into in a second. But there's a couple of new models plus the Sigma stuff. Sigma 4th edition dropped, and I've made the promise of at least a couple of games, and I think I picked Daughters of Cain.
You traitor!
No, like I was gonna go the steampunk dwarves, because they looked and seemed to play the most like
Dark Elder,
like 40k, like Dark Elder.
Yeah.
But then after actually reading the rules of Daughters of Cain, and because I have a whole bunch of the models already, because I've been using them as like proxies for different types of witches. Like when you've got, I've got like 60 plus actual witches.
Yeah.
When you've got that many, and this is 9th ed, where you would have witches, but then you'd also have the upgraded witches. The what were they fucking called? I don't know. It was like
Brides.
yeah, Blood Brides. Yeah. So I used these
Blood Bride,
Daughters of Cain as Blood Brides, and I didn't want to just buy more witches. So I wanted something a little bit different. Just
you're branching out into another game system, playing Witch Cult. Got it.
yeah, but pretty much. And what's so cool about Daughters of Cain? At least again, I've not played a single game in it. I haven't actually. I've got it loaded up to actually read the rules of 4th ed. But I watched a bunch of videos, so I kind of get the idea. But the cool thing is it's got the 9th ed Dark Elder rules. So every turn they slowly get empowered. You know the old Power from Pain, which would be like turn 1 you get this, and turn 2 you get this plus this, etc., etc. Well, that's what the fucking Daughters of Cain have. Daughters of Cain are literally, it's I was about to bring it up, but no, fuck it. It's like
combat drugs.
Yeah. It's in essence combat drugs. It's like turn. Oh no, not combat drugs. It's the Power from Pain. 9th Power from Pain rule, which is so first turn I think, or second turn, whatever turn it is. It's like reroll advances, and charges. Next turn it's like +1 to your charge. Next turn it's something like that, and it just slowly gets powered, and then turn 4 it's like +1 attack. Turn 5 +1 to wound. Just you're slowly powering up. And I looked at that and I was like, okay, well, I can't not look at this. This is 9th ed Dark Elder. And I've got the fucking models. All right, I'll need to get a couple of the characters. I've got some vouchers for that. Let's do it.
Yep, done.
Yes. So that's a little bit about what's happening in the horizon for me in terms of like gaming stuff. I'm going to be playing at least a couple of games. I made the promise to Eric. I'm going to play a couple of games of Sigma, see how I go. I'm still going to, dabble in 40k, of course, because I've been fucking playing 26 years. But yeah,
it's a good palate cleanser. Like I find like we've obviously all been playing for a very long time, but going out to different gaming systems, it's like keeps you. It keeps you sharp for the fact that like you got to set your mind to something else and brew that. So that whole retaining of information and then learning, basically how to apply it and all that. But also like you turn around and you can actually learn different sort of mechanics / play styles from another game system that you then come back and adapt to 40k, like old style fantasy games. I went and did that for a number of years just as a muck around. But there was like certain things in that in regards to like the fast cav and like the sort of faint and fading and all that sort of jazz, where you bring that back to like Elder back in the day. And that was a big integral shift of like how you basically play fast mobile Elder, which wasn't just like Wraithspan.
Mm-hmm.
So like I always find it's people are like, I'm going to go off and play this other. And it's like good, because you can always find something to bring back to your original game system that makes it better.
Yeah. It's I 100% agree. And it's why I specifically, but I know Duck, you join us in the board game stuff, but I play so many board games. Like I've got a bunch here that I play with the kids. I play at least once a week with a small group of guys on TTS, just playing different types of board games. But then at Eric's, we break up some of the 40k or Warhammer type games with things like Eclipse, Twilight Imperium, things like that. Just because you can bring that kind of competitiveness and the thinking and that, like outside the box thinking into a different game engine, we'll say. And then if it works, great. And if it doesn't work, what does work in that space? And maybe you can bring that back into 40k.
Oh, 100%. It's like
it's just like generic problem solving is always going to help you in 40k.
Yeah.
So we might have our test days or practice days at Eric's might be 1 to 2 games of 40k, and then 3 different board games until late at night, and you spent 14 hours there and you've played 1.5 games of 40k.
Well, it's also like we're in a unique situation between the three of us that we play pretty high end 40k as well. So it's like it's nice to turn around and be like, yep, gonna rock some Mortarheim or some Affinity and go down to like 10 models and have a bit more of a narrative play and banter and carrying on as you're trying to like kill each other's warband leader or something like that.
Yep. Or if you're playing what's that Is it more time, or is it Necromunda with Rory, and then you happen to walk past
Necromunda,
Yeah.
you walk past a car that happens to have a fuel canister that then explodes and kills your dude, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get back to 40k and get to know a bit more about our friend Josh here. So, Josh, you're always running your own events. You get to play in a few between the ones that you run. What's the thing that keeps you keen about 40k to juggle that player and TO sort of role that you go back and forth between?
Yeah, so basically, we've sort of alluded to it beforehand. So, like, coming up, years and years ago, I think everyone here sort of, we've all done the whole rankings thing. I think Simon's been number one in the country a couple of times across a couple of editions. So I've done the same. And like, we've done the whole high-end competitive stuff. It come down to the point of, like, there was a big gap in running high-end events that are from a competitive player point of view that wasn't consistent enough. Like, we'd have some really great events, and like our TOs in Queensland throughout the ages have been really good. But it was a case of, like, I would have liked to something that every couple of months we're leading up to it. We're keeping that fire lit sort of thing, and like that enthusiasm going, where we could, like, pretty much set your watch to it and be like, every couple of months we're going to have a major. So that was the goal. I ended up retiring a couple of years ago, so it enabled me to basically do this as a bit more of a full-time thing. Obviously raising family and stuff is first priority, but it's this is what pretty much keeps me sort of going. I got heavily into, like, the ADF Wargaming Association. They did a lot of charity run events and stuff like that, which I helped them with the 40k side. And basically, the reason I do events is just basically gives everyone places to play. Like, we've have some good gaming stores here in Queensland, but for a number of years there wasn't too many actual places to play. Like Simon mentioned Macrobat, which was like 10 tables that you, like, if you go there, you might not just get a chance to play on certain nights and stuff. And I think they've actually shut that down now. I think they're only doing like intro games there now. So having regular events, pretty much monthly, enabled everyone to sort of just, take their garage hammer and bring it back into meeting up and being a bit more social in the state. Playing
There was a period there where sort of everyone just ran their own little RTTs. The shops based their own little RTTs with their clubs that filled up most of the 16 to 20 players, but there was no larger event that united all of the groups and all of the clubs. And I think you've done that very well, because at least every club in Brisbane and Ipswich and whatnot, they get a team to your Gladiator events.
Yeah, so we got the August one coming up soon, and what was it? There was like 14 plus clubs represented, and not every club in Queensland is actually coming. So it's like, just goes to show, from like when Simon was saying, we only had like 2 to 3 clubs, and now we're up to like 15, 16 clubs, and then we're they're propping up all the time. Like, even like the guys from the QUT, they've got their own little gaming club who are 40k and esports gaming and stuff like that. So
I was on their Garden Points campus the other night at a concert there at the River Stage, and walked past and saw they had a couple of rooms of like esports, like computer setup, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Next step will be getting some 40k tables in there and some streaming gear.
So,
anyways,
just to answer,
Simon.
No, I just want to answer one of the questions that you asked from before, which was, why should people listen to you? From my point of view, and I did a search for your name through, like, we've got like a run sheet thing, and I've called you out in the most positive way, like, as in big props to McGowan, at least 5 times across 5 different podcasts, and I'm pretty sure I've said it to you multiple times, but this is just at least where I've specifically written it down. You've not just been a great rep for Queensland, but you've also been a fantastic, in my opinion, a fantastic steward of the competitive scene, or not even the competitive scene, just the scene within the 40k scene in Queensland, and as much as you could, unified a whole group of belligerent people. Let's just put it that way. That ranges from, one of the more belligerent people, Eric, or myself, to angry people, to people who are disconnected because they're, they've seen some of those things and said, yeah, that's not for me, or just really timid. Like, I don't want to say timid people in a negative way, but just timid in that they're not quite sure if this is what they want to be doing. And so trying to circle that square in that you getting all these different people, encouraging them and nurturing that, so much so that they don't just turn up, that they then find other like-minded people, and then they build clubs around that. Like, you mentioned it just before, and I said it before as well. There is a reason why we've gone from 2 or 3 clubs to 15 plus clubs, and they become smaller and smaller because more and more of these people are finding like-minded individuals, and they want to almost from their point of view, and that's very indicative of the work that you've done over these probably at least last 8 to 10 years. That I've known you, that you've been kind of running events, in my opinion, properly, and consistently getting over 100 people. This is from my point of view why, and not just 100 people for singles. It's like 100 people for specifically team events, and this is why I think people should listen to you.
Thank you.
Yes, Josh is a legend. But tell us, Josh, you got your event coming up in August. Tell us about your rankings, that you're in the middle of your little season, and your prize support upcoming Gladiator event.
Oh, okay.
Tell us about the swag. Tell us about your swag, mate.
Done a deal. So this is it's always one of those ones where it's like we've all been there with, like, obviously ITC's gone really, really great, and stuff like that. But we've all been like faction masters, over the years. Like, we're like, you do the whole ITC, you go to events, and you go to the big one at the end, and then you're like, all right, I've won my best in faction, like Tau or Guard or whatever. And it was sort of just, in my opinion, like, nothing really, it didn't mean anything. Like, you sort of go there and you go, cool, if I'm doing it, and if I'm local somewhere and I can do that, or I can travel interstate, I'm going to get some good points. And then to cap it all off, it was basically just this little piddly trophy, and stuff like that. So, not without shitting on anyone, it's like people are still doing it, like it's still a thing, and that's great. But for me, I just looked at it and went, we're doing so well in Queensland. I'd like to amp it up a little bit in regards to, like, just rewarding our guys to actually showing up on a regular basis. So this year, I launched the pretty much end of year faction stuff. So the trophy for it, if you guys aren't familiar, is the manager cases done by Pete from Manager Case. It's a magnetized tray made out of aluminium and other things. You get your customized print and stuff like that on it. And you can basically store your army carry case style, and you have like individual shelving units. So when you get to an event, you just bring your shelf out of your case and plonk it on the side of the table. So it's a really, really cool concept of, like, how to transport armies to tournaments. It makes, like, you're not coming from boxes and multiple cases or foam. You don't have to get individual models out of foam trays and stuff like that. You just pull a whole tray out and it's ready to go. So that's the actual trophy. All right. So you'll have like a faction specific emblem on some custom artwork, and you'll get one of them. So they retail for about $200 each. And then on top of that, we're going to line up some prize support from Irresistible Force, one of our sponsors, and he's going to give out some vouchers on top. So gaming across all my events throughout the year. So There's been 7 events to go towards it, 5 teams and 2 singles. This August event is the second last one. So we currently have, it's 132 players. So we reserved 22 team slots for it, just for size and capacity of our venue. That sold out without advertising, which is the first time ever. Like, I was pretty chuffed, for the last couple of times where I'm getting around about the 130 plus mark, sold out in minutes. And then this one sold out through like pre-registration from our captain's chat. So it's really nice that in Queensland we don't really need to advertise too much. We just have 130 plus player events sold out instantly.
Very nice.
Huge effort, mate.
Yeah. So, but yeah, going on from that, this is all going to go along into an end of year gala. So it'll be like a black tie event. So we're going to lock down venues very soon. We have one in mind, but I'm just trialing some stuff at the moment.
I can't guarantee if I do attend. I can't guarantee I'll wear a tie. I haven't worn a tie in like 10 years.
That's all right. You can wear whatever you want. But no, it's a case of like, it's going to be a bit more fancy, something that you'd be happy to bring your partner to. So it's not just a bunch of sweaty nerds. But yeah, so it's like, for that, it's a proper award ceremony, similar to what they do with like the football teams and stuff like that. So
Okay.
we'll have like all the you'll have all the end of year trophies handed out then. We've got recognition stuff. So like as in 100% attendance are going to be getting things. And pretty much it's like all the community involvement stuff. So there's a couple of highlights that I'd like to do with certain people in the community that have been working really well. Like they could be like managers of some of the new clubs. We've got like the best new team on the block, something like they've just started this year essentially. And how they've tracked, like sort of like it used to be like the young bloods, but we're all old, so we just call it the new team now.
It's sort of like your rookie of the year.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. There's a set of championship rings coming, so yeah. So I just had them designed and they're getting produced at the moment. So there's heaps and heaps of cool stuff, and then we'll cap the night off with a bit of trivia, a bit of drinking, a bit of dancing, and just celebrate an awesome year of doing it. We'll also announce all our fundraising tallies for the year. So pretty much alongside a lot of events, I do a lot of fundraising for pretty much kids' charities. And then I team up with the normal blokes to do the Movember and stuff like that. So I think pretty much yearly we average about anywhere from 5 to 10 grand over the last couple of years tracking for charity donations just through Queensland Gaming. But yeah, so heaps of cool stuff. That's this is obviously all on top. So we've got about $8,000 for end of year prizes. So obviously, like there's 22 Magnature cases, I think, going off the factions that are going. So like that's 22 times 200 just in trophies. But yeah, and then after that we get a whole lot of other vouchers and more trophies. Got some really cool pristine ones that you're never going to really get again because they're quite expensive, but they're to show the love that that these people earned through being awesome throughout the year. But yeah,
nice. Duck, I can see
Beautiful.
like 5 years from now, you or Eric collecting the rings and then just being able to walk up to people and pimp slap them.
Just put all a team of 5, all 5 rings together, and to like Captain Planet.
They are good looking rings, like so. It's not like nothing's tacky. It's all decent quality stuff. So.
I fucking love it. One question I did have when I saw the kind of like the ranking stuff. Is it just like the 3 events, or like how's the kind of points tracked or whatever?
Yeah, so basically it comes from because we do a lot of team stuff. So what I wanted to envision for that was basically we've all been on teams where you're like, it doesn't matter how well you play. Sometimes you have to get bust, So it's like, so I made it basically off your team placing. So it's everyone's going for their own individual faction prize. But say I'll put it in real time. You're on Dark Elder, Simon. So it's going to be your best 3 results out of the 7, and it's how your how your placing goes for that event. So on teams events, it's how your team placing goes, and for the 2 singles, it was how you went as an individual in your singles. And then we take the best 3 results from that. What that enables you to do is basically take some harder matchups for the benefit of your team to get a better result. So Simon, you might have been taking a few reds in the last one, and that doesn't stop you from not getting 100 battle points across your event and becoming the best Dark Elder player. Like, you could get 60 points because you took some hard matchups, which enabled your team to, advance up the leaderboard per se. So
yeah.
no one gets penalised for being bust. It also stops the counter side of it of, like, unfortunately, there's no real nice way to say it, the lower end teams or the lower placing teams, you have individuals in those teams that might just line themselves up with 5 really good matchups, or we call them greens. So they end up getting 500 points, individual battle points in the round, but their team come 20th out of 22.
Yeah.
Like, they're the only one winning. So I didn't want that person to be able to line up easy wins against, softer opponents comparatively to...
It can be gamed.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so, yeah.
It's much harder to game a weaker player managing to snag a strong team that wins the event. And, like, God bless them if they can do that 3 times in a row. But
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
versus a single player, like, let's say me, finding 4 other Gumbies and then just doing all the pairings, giving myself greens, smashing those in. We'll lose every round, doesn't make a difference, but don't you worry, I got my 500.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't want to encourage individual before self in a team environment. Like you said, there's a reason why we have, plenty of clubs uprising. We've made a very strong community here. And I'm like, I don't want people to, like, selfishly affect people's enjoyment of an event for an end of year prize and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so pretty much it's best of your best results. So also being 7 events, you can go for 2 different faction awards as well. So it's like, if you're doing really well and, manage to do 3 good results on, say, I don't know, Dark Elder, you might switch to Elder for the remaining 3 and see how you go there.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just enough of, like, I put it out there, let people do their thing.
Excellent. We'll move to the main topic of the thing, and then once Duck jumps off, just because he's got a hard out, we might come back to some of these things for anything we've missed.
Yep.
All right, Duck. What's the main topic?
Well, thankfully we're 40 minutes in, and we'll just get to the main topic in true Ethos podcast style. The 3 things, or the thing all 3 of us have in common, is we're all fathers. We all have a family, and obviously, with the amount of events Josh runs and Josh plays in, same as Simon, who, in the last year or the first half of this year has been quite active in all of Josh's tournaments. How do you guys find the balance between being a good dad or present dad, good husband, plus still getting in your own time for some 40k? So Josh, since you do a lot of the background work before and after events that a lot of people probably don't realise, your workload's probably a bit higher than the average person. So how do you juggle it? What's your secret, mate?
Yeah, so 4 kids. I got 10, 7, 5, and 3. Sorry, 3 girls, 1 boy. So a lot of it is, like, good scheduling. Like, we've got my wife and I, Kirby. She's an amazing woman. So Queensland Gaming's got a lot of ode to her because she's the one that will definitely help me, unload a trailer and stuff like that when I get home, because it's, getting everything there, setting it up, and then taking it down. I'm like, I've still got to store it. She helps me, cut out, bases for terrain, like, all that sort of stuff. Like, the amount of times we've been sitting down watching TV shows together and we're, like, painting trophies or, cutting out, placards or table numbers or whatever. So she helps me a lot, which is awesome. But yeah, scheduling. So everything I try, in Queensland Gaming, I got a TO's chat or a guild where we pretty much work together to make sure that we're not overcrossing each other. I space things. So when we're doing our dates and stuff, I try and have at least a couple of weeks to almost a month between events so people don't burn out. Because everyone wants to support everyone, but you can't go to 20 odd events a year. But yeah, scheduling's a big one. We have a calendar specifically set up in our room that I'm like, I jot everything down, and she does as well. So it's like making sure there's an equal mix of like, I need this day to paint terrain, I need this day to run an event. And then she gets pretty much the pick of the litter outside of that. So she's like, well, we're going on family outing here, we're doing dinner with the family there, dinner with the folks and stuff. So it's like having that out and planning it and just sticking to it and holding yourself accountable is a big one. I got heaps, but it's up to you
keep
guys.
going, man. You're ticking off all the same things I would be saying. I was going to go everything McGowan said.
All right, so the big one,
and I'm sitting here taking notes.
How I hear a lot, like we've all heard, it's like, oh, I've got to work up the brownie points, to get the donut off or whatever. It makes me laugh because it's like we've all been doing it for a long, long time, where it's just like it becomes a part of like ingrained of like where that compromise is. So for me, it's like I always game one night a week. So I go out to clubs, like lately I've been going out to ITA. I'll head over to Low Rollers soon and stuff like that. Because I'm more local now. I've moved from Toowoomba back down into Brisbane, so I can actually get around. But I find it very, very important that at least one night a week I get away from my family. So I'm not dad, I'm not husband, I'm Josh the gamer. And I can do that because I'm like, otherwise I'm just going to be stagnant and not grow as a person. And I'm going to get my relationships, or me working on external relationships to my family, is going to dwindle. So that's where I can be an adult, or be a kid being adult, play my games, and I don't have to worry about, school excursions and, like all the stuff that goes along with. I can de-stress, get away from it, and I find that charges me back up a lot better, that I can come back and be a better husband and a better father, because I do have my own time to disconnect and then come back new. A lot of the stuff is, so I'm the stay-at-home. I end up damaging myself pretty severely in the army, so I'm on a disability pension. So from there, pretty much it's like I would adopt the role of like a stay-at-home mother, essentially. So my wife works full-time. So what I try and do is when I do the school runs and pickups and stuff, I get home, the kids eat, I make sure that their homework's done, all that sort of jazz. I've prepped dinner usually. And then wifey comes home, and then we can have the actual family sit down time, go over any sort of homework and stuff like that. And we play board games and whatnot. After that's done, about 7:30ish, that's a choice of, do we spend time together as a couple? Do we just have our own time to do our own thing? Because kids go to bed by about 7:30ish. And then that's it. So it's like, that's the day-to-day. And then weekends is, if I'm not running games, I'm usually doing something with my family. So it's like, there's never a call of like, you need to spend more time with us, so you can't go gaming. Usually it's like my gaming, even with my 7 events this year, that's like, if I double it with prep, that's 14 of 52 weeks that I spend for my hobby. So family gets the other remaining 30 odd plus weekends. So it's a 2/3 for family, 1/3 for gaming. And pretty much that seems to be working for me. I can go over some of my setups and how I've structured my house with that if you want.
We'll do that in a second.
And anything to add, Simon? Yeah.
Yeah. As I said, ditto for pretty much everything that McGowan just said. I know when you came over with Kirby to my house, we talked about this ourselves, and yeah, it's almost everything McGowan said is almost mirror to what Sonia and I do. In case any of you guys are really keen on this particular topic, I did a podcast, actually 3 podcasts with my wife Sonia, and it was episode 6, episode 8, and where's the other one? Episode 6, 8, and 10 was partner episodes, where we kind of go over how our partners support us, in essence, in this being in the competitive 40k world, in essence. So a lot more detail in there from my point of view, and you can hear it straight from the horse's mouth of my wife. She will find that joke extremely funny.
Yep.
But yeah, the big things, just to reiterate, planning's probably the biggest thing. It's as long as you have a plan and it's communicated, most of the stuff goes away. Making sure you're both on the same page for activities, but also needs. And I literally, probably about 2 hours ago, talked to my wife about this, which was the way my brain works. And you guys have known me for a while. The way my brain works, it gets me, or not gets me in trouble, but it's both a good and a bad thing. My brain almost never switches off. It's always thinking about something. However, and this might be the tism talking here, but when I can hyper focus on certain things, and like Duck, you've seen this before, and I've got I've got video evidence in essence of this. The recording at WTC. So like, I just want to quickly do a snapshot here. There's maybe 30 plus, it was about 30 to 50 people. So this is the finals of the WTC. We're playing Poland. And because we had a judge's call, we had an extra 5 minutes. So my game was the last game in our whole row and to be finished. It's top tables. Whoever wins this game wins the round in essence. And I literally did not know that there was about 30 to 50 people standing around me. It wasn't until I saw the videos. I was just hyper focused on finishing the game, the clock, my opponent, and what was happening. And so much so that when we finished the game, my brain was just like kind of a meltdown, and I gave my score sheet to, I think it was Liam, to say, can you just work this out? I can't, there's the scores. My opponent's happy with it. Can you work out what the actual result is? I know I've won, but I don't know, what the result is. And then Liam's quickly calculating it. He says what the score is, and then that's that video, where fucking solely he grabs me and just gives me the big hug, and I'm just focusing on taking my glasses off so he doesn't fucking crush it. And it wasn't
the old Sugma hug.
Yeah, and it wasn't until then that I actually looked up and I saw how many people were there, etc. Like that's just an example. It's a very, very small example of something that I've learned that is me. I've kind of reflected on, and I literally said to Sonia 2 hours ago, it was like, this is something that I've been able to do, or I've needed to do since I was like fucking 16. Like since I could really remember, when I get sucked into something, I just deep dive it. Like it's probably why I played WoW for so many hours, and why when I play 40k, unless I get a phone call, and even then I usually just hang up because I'm just so focused. I can just zoom in to and ignore the world and just zoom in on this thing. And in that kind of moment of flow, as this was one of the episodes we did with Vander, in that kind of moment of flow and that kind of hyper focus, the world doesn't exist. But more importantly for me and kind of my brain is, I'm not thinking about anything else. And that, I've written down here in my little notes here, it's turn off brain. But it's not, I'm turning off the brain so I can think, I can play 40k. It's not like 40k is an easy game. It's more, my brain won't stop thinking about 15 other fucking things.
Yeah.
And yet when I hyper focus on something, and you mentioned it yourself, it's like, you're not dad, you're not this, you're not that. It's that same feeling. It's, I am not dad, husband, brother, sister. I am not that person. I am me playing 40k. I am this, warlord of the Imperium. I am, that's all I am right now. I'm just this person, and the world doesn't exist. And I need those moments of hyper focus to be able to, in essence, turn off my brain, because otherwise, then stuff gets overwhelming in essence because I think fucking too much.
And there's two quality points to go along with that, because that's usually a common pitfall of games, and sometimes we do get a bit hyper focused on tournament seasons because everything's harsh and fast. It's like usually it's the self-checking when you have something accountability, like you said, you're scheduling and whatever. You turn around and go, right, I need X more practice games, or the team wants to line up a day there, it's always, sure, do it, or whatever needs to be done. And then you got to check with yourself and you go, is it fair? Is it okay with the work-life balance of the family as well? So it's like sometimes you go, right, if I'm doing a weekend here or an extra training day, what can I do around that to make sure that my wife's cup is filled, my family's cup is filled, so on and so forth.
Yep.
So it could be like a spontaneous, we're going out to dinner on a Wednesday, or we're going on a picnic, one afternoon after everyone gets home from work, or school or whatever, and go, you can find ways that you don't need to like cloud up your weekends. Like not everything has to be done on the weekend. Like you can take and then you go, if that's on Wednesday, Monday and Tuesday, I might be meal prepping. I need to do a little bit of extra effort every day to get that ready for the weekend or ready for those extra days of filling the cups, so then I can do it on the weekend.
Yeah, 100%. And that actually gets to my last point, which is the opportunities to tie things together. So I've, because I'm on the same page as Sonia and we plan out a lot of stuff, and I always am looking, my brain doesn't turn off, I'm always looking for opportunities to tie things together. It's why I've been able to do a whole bunch of different things in, we'll say, 40K world. I tied in a family trip down to Phillip Island with Battle in the Bush in Orange. This is like 5 or 6 years ago that I won. And then the weekend after was ATC, which I just took the same army. And that was down in Victoria. And so we did a family trip, and we made sure we were in Orange, and then they went into Dubbo Zoo or where it was, and I did the tournament, and then we continued our trip, and then I was in Victoria, did ATC while they did whatever, and then we did the whole rest of the trip. And the classic example was fucking LVO. I took the family to Colombia for a year, but we just nudged it 2 months later because we were going to go before Christmas, but instead we went in January so that I could go to LVO. They went to Las Vegas, so while I was doing the tournament, they were, walking the strip, etc. And I got to go to LVO as part of a family trip, and we'd been planning that, trip for like 10 years. And the WTC thing, one of my WTC ones was because Sonia was part of that journey, because I got her to become both the manager, and we made it work because we left the kids with grandparents and aunties and all that for a month, and Sonia came with me, and we made it like a couple's holiday because it was a month away. 1 week of that was WTC plus all the prep, of course. That's like 4 months of just intense craziness. But then the next 3 weeks is just me and her, and we're traveling Europe. It's just finding opportunities to tie things in together. So yeah, always thinking, making sure that people are on the same page, and then planning. Like that's to me how I've been able to, from my point of view, do all the cool things I can do while still being all the other expectations on me.
100%.
Beautiful. All right, well, I'm going to love you and leave you in the capable hands of Simon.
Beautiful.
And thanks for joining us, Josh.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Duck, mate.
And enjoy these two.
Any last words from your point of view?
No. Everything you said is very reasonable, very applicable to 90% of relationships out there. So, and just remember, family and partner comes first over war dollies. Make sure you don't get those priorities mixed up. But on that, I'll leave you with the two veterans, and they'll take you to the end. Thanks, boys.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Duck. All right. And possibly Duck will hear this afterwards, but I don't disagree that your family does come first. But your own needs, like that thing I was talking about, which is my need to turn off my brain, so to speak. That is a serious thing. Like I think I've done 2 episodes already about mental health. I think it was episode 12, and then another one which was 24, which was on, and there's another one lined up later. But the mental health component is huge. Not just mental health in preparing for being good at a competitive game, etc., but also that you're using 40K as a outlet for your own mental health. Like,
100%.
that's kind of why I wanted to make it a big point that it's not. There's a balance. I think this is kind of what me and you were talking about. There's that balance between selfishness and being selfish.
Yeah.
Like, it is okay, as long as you're on the same page, to be selfish for your own mental health. But that's balance. You can't just say, there's like memes. There's like, I'm taking a me day. I'm gonna do this and that, and then it's 90% of your life is a me day. That's not balanced in essence.
I've got an argument point for you.
Yeah, I do want to hear, but
I don't actually count it as selfish. I don't think it's selfish at all.
No. I'm using the vernacular. I agree. I don't think it's selfish. I think it's actually needed. If like what you said, like that's why everything that you said is resonated with me, because I think we're very alike in both our approach to the universe, but also how we say run our households, or work with our partner to make sure that our lives are balanced. In essence,
So I've got an analogy for you.
Yeah, please.
Not an analogy, I don't know. It's like a life lesson type stuff. So you come across a lumberjack, and he's cutting down the tree, and as much as he can, he's cutting, he's whacking the shit out of this tree. And you go to him, you go, look, if you take like 5 minutes to sharpen your axe, you'll get through that tree a lot faster. And he turns around and be like, I can't. There's not enough time. I've got to just keep on chopping. And it's just like, that always says to me, it's like one of the things of like, take the step back, you plan appropriately, you prep yourself better, so on and so forth. This whole take your time for your hobby, I look at it and go, does your wife enjoy you, Simon, being passionate about something? Because if you like, I look at it and go, there's a lot of qualities around doing something for yourself and being good at it that resonates with the human body. Like, everyone loves to compete. Everyone likes the feeling of winning or accomplishing something, even if it's a case of like, you don't have to win every event, but your passion might be in getting that army 100% to go showcase at that event. So you're not so much there for the gaming, but you worked really hard on your army, or I want to do a 3-2 record, so on and so forth. So setting yourself goals, like, these are all good life lessons that everyone can sort of aspire to do, or what's needed for being a successful individual. If you're a successful individual in your gaming, that's going to leak into other aspects of your life. Like, you're going to be a more successful father. You're going to be a more successful partner. You're going to, as you said,
how did you get that success? It's that preparation. There's the training. It's the thinking.
It's all the things you're taking from prepping for an event.
Yep.
It's like how to prioritize your time, how to reward your effort. Processes. It's like, that didn't really work. That was a waste of time. I scheduled time for that, but I sort of wasted it. You're keeping yourself accountable of your actions. To make sure that if you're only limited in time, that you're utilizing your time to the most efficient you possibly can. Like you said, tying things in. As we're talking now, I'm clipping things off sprue. Because it's like, I'm not going to spend, and it's just like, it's I do a lot of the at home thing. I'm like, I'm washing the dishes, and I've got my kids at the table next to me talking me through their homework. So I can be like, where you stuck at, you explain it to me, see where they're going.
Yep.
I'm doing the dishes, and I've like cut the veggies ready for dinner. Like, I'm prepping stuff. Same sort of stuff. You go, I want to have a modeling night because I need to get ready for my event. And you're going, cool, I've got half an hour. Can I clip some stuff off sprues? Can I make sure I've done that order to get those models in time? Do I have enough glue? I might just check today. I don't get to my hobby day that I planned, and all of a sudden I've got no glue or paint that I needed. It's like, all right, I'm going to have a hobby day on Wednesday. By Monday, I'm sort of going, do I have everything ready for my hobby?
Yeah, that's a general preparation. So my dad was a builder. He would be saying, making sure you have all the equipment ready for the build.
I'm sharpening my axe.
Yeah. And when you said sharpening the axe, there's a famous saying, and I had to quickly look it up to make sure I had it right. But I'm just going to read off what Google said to me, and it sounds correct. Abraham Lincoln once said, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe."
Yeah.
And in essence, that's what we're trying to say. It's the preparation, and I use the word selfishness, like being selfish so that you can be the most effective you can be. And this is why I say same page. Just communication to me is huge. It's the biggest thing that I think I do. I don't know if I do it well, but at least I over communicate like nobody's business. And so even if I make sure that I know what I know, because I think a lot and I'm introspective, and I talk a lot about what I know to make sure that I'm not deluding myself. And then by me saying it to you, you know what I know. And even if you don't agree, at least we're on the same page.
Yep.
And then so when I then ask for something, and this is not just for your partner, but this could be for friends or whoever, you at least understand where it came from. Yep. And it's not just like, oh, he seems to be very selfish. And it's like, oh, well, I mean, he did tell me about XYZ, 6 months ago. And this is not completely, off the reservation that from his point of view. Okay, sure. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he's not just being selfish. And even if he is, it's him sharpening his axe.
Yep.
Awesome.
I can also draw a line to it as well, because I'll try and give some tips. Because I talk to a lot of gentlemen and ladies in our gaming communities, and they always sort of ask roughly the same questions. So it's like they're like, oh, how do you like, let's say you got a partner that's not really too keen on your hobby or so, and I'm like, there could be a number of reasons for that, but it's also putting equal value on things. So it's like your hobby is important, and it's like we've just talked about self-love and making sure and doing all that. If you're still met with a partner or relationship in your life where it's just like there's resentments around how much time you spend or so on and so forth, a little tip and trick that is always successful too is, I just mentioned I go out. I'm like, so it's not even like I get friends over and I'm at home. I believe removing yourself from an environment to go to another one is better if you can. But the biggest thing is when I go out, 9 times out of 10, I've already prepped dinner that night. Like everything's been done in the afternoon. So the wife gets home. I don't just like dump and run. I'm like, let's say she gets home at like 5:30. I'm not out the door at 5:30. I go to 6. I'm like, I'll leave at 6. I'll get to the place, roughly around 7. So I arrange all my external games at like 7 at night, finish up around about 10. Then I'm coming home. The kids are fed, or dinner is at least in the oven. So, but I give her that half an hour for her to come home and de-stress. So it's not just, here's the hand grenade and I'm gone. It's a case of like, she should come home. How would you like to be greeted when you come home from work?
Yeah, no, I got exactly the same thing. Like I hate, and let's say that everyone in this house knows that like I hate coming home from work, and because my wife's in the same position as you, like she's the stay-at-home mum, and she does great things with the kids, but I really don't like when I come home and then I immediately come into, all right, there's
I need
dad.
this.
Can you get this, and this done? It's like, oh.
Yeah. So it's like she'll be more, your wife or your partner, husband, you'll be more happy for you to like come home and you're like, oh, yep, I'm going out because it's the same night every week I do it. It's just routine. The kids know that I'm going out. And then on top of that, you go, dinner's and that, story time's done, or whatever, homework's done. The kids are fed or eating dinner, or they've at least been showered now. So all they got to do is get some dinner, brush teeth, and in bed.
Yep.
You doing all that, and let them come home and be like, get away from your mother, let her get home, puts the bag down, wipe her face, do all that sort of jazz that, she needs to de-stress from her day as well. And you're going to be more welcomely received, or more positively received to go, oh yeah, everything's done. So there's no obstacle for me not being around.
100%.
So
most of my stuff is organized after the kids go to bed, because my kids, same thing, around 7:30 they're asleep.
Yep.
And then after a brief catch up, because we're both more introverted than extroverted, we both in essence do we do a debrief, and then we need to do our de-stress. So we have our separate time, and so my separate time then is I get to dictate that, and that's when I would be focusing on, 40k stuff or organising games, etc. Sometimes it bleeds into it, but most of the time it's 7 to 7:30 onwards. My kids are about the same age as yours, a little bit older for my youngest, but they're pretty independent now. Like, they know exactly what they have to do, and otherwise they feel the wrath of the parents.
But it's like, it also comes down to clear, like you said, communication. I don't know, we're going to go over it a lot, or rehash it a lot, but I'm like, there's so many, you can't just say communication and be like, oh, so you talk about things. It's like communication in regards to like proper clear communication in regards to like setting boundaries, setting expectations. Like, I constantly self-check myself, but I also turn around to the wife and I'm like, right, I've just finished up, May was a chaotic month. It was almost going to be like me running 3 events, but Drop Bear Gaming took over one for me, which was phenomenal. But yeah, it was like I ran 2 events in the same month. And I said to, Kev and my wife, I'm like, all right, so how'd we go? Like, what can we do better? What can, it's like, because obviously there's a lot of prep and all that, but it's just like, comes down to, don't let it become a problem, which then becomes a fight. And that's the only time that you're communicating, when someone's being fed up and is voicing it then. It's like source to look to your partner to do general, like, work performance type stuff. You're like, I'm not going to wait until the end of the year to get my performance review. I'm going to ask, each quarter, what am I doing?
I've said that to my boss and to my staff, that if we've come to the yearly, when we do the actual proper, we do 6 monthly, but if it comes to the end of the 6 month or the end of the year, and I'm finding out something for the first time, or my staff member, you're finding out something for the first time, I have failed as your manager. It's like, there should never be an instance where, like, I go to my boss and they go, well, you didn't do this thing 3 months ago that well. And it's like, no, that you've now fucked up. You should have told me that at the time, or I should have been asking, am I doing this? It's a two-way street, in essence, this type of feedback or constructive criticism. But Jesus Christ, like, you should never get to a point where you actually do a performance review and you're learning something for the first time. That should never happen.
Well, it's the same thing. You should never really find out of the blue, I don't like it when you do X, Y, Z.
Yeah, no, cool. Absolutely.
Because I'm like, and that's to say, communication, two-way street and all that, but I'm like, take ownership of it, knowing full well that your hobby and your time away, because it is a weekend stuff, is, what's the word? It's not a drag. It's an added stress on time, because you are physically going away. Like, we've got a lot of keyboard gaming and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, kids are in bed, wife's reading a book, or, doing her TV shows or whatever she's doing. I can sneak away. Like, you and I have a history of playing video games together. But that's usually, we're only playing them after the fact. It's like all our responsibilities are done for the day, and we're sort of like, we're not meeting up for 40k, but we can, go for half an hour to 45 minutes, playing a video game together and just talking shit. Moving on.
Just laughing at people playing HOTS.
Pretty much. But it's just like, laughing at me playing HOTS. Yeah. But, no, so it's, making sure that your partner is, feeling validated, that her needs are definitely, or their perception of their needs as well. Because it's like, sometimes they turn around and go, I don't like you gaming all the time. And you're like, but why? It's not the gaming. It's, because when you do it, you just like, leave me in the lurch all the time. So it's like, do you need to organize a specific night? Do you need to, as in like structure it better? You'll always find out those obstacles to make yourself more efficient to do it. And then you'll find out that you're like, if you have a partner that's fully supportive of your gaming, it couldn't be better. Like, it's always great. But I'm like, that takes work. Like, you want to, I'm all for greasing the wheels and stuff, but I'm like, it shouldn't be like a reward to be permission-based type stuff. It should just be, it's like, it's all nice to recognize. I come home and I'll make my wife my favorite dinner pretty much in the week following my events, because I'm like, I have been, semi-absentee, in the prep stage and the weekend. But I'm like, I'll make after the event all about her.
It's a shortened version. When we say like brownie points, it's in the most negative way of seeing it,
Yeah.
it's like you're doing this to get permission to live your life.
Yeah.
You and I know this, and this is what we're probably trying to get across to people.
Yeah.
That's a very negative way of seeing it. It's not about, these people, your partners need to be placated and are rulers of your life. They're your partners because they're your partners. And the whole thing is you're recognizing that I use the word selfishness, but it's your sharpening of the axe, so to speak, or your de-stressing or whatever it is, doing the best that you
Self-love.
can be. For your self-love, yep. Any of these words. The point being is you need this and you're going to get this. However, there is recognition that you are not living by yourself and you have a life together. So you want to, and I'm again, think positive when I say this. Is like you're making it up to them in essence. You're showing them care by getting brownie points. It's
a recognition of their sacrifices to help you do your thing.
Exactly. And again, I go over this in like the other 3 podcasts that I talked about in much better detail. But that's in essence what I think we're both trying to say. We're not asking their permission, but we are recognizing that they have taken on additional burden in essence.
Yeah.
For what you need, and vice versa.
And if you ever want to see what it's like and stuff like that, it's like do the whole get the wife or get the husband out of the house and get them to be like, no, you're going to spend a weekend away. Go out with the girls. Go out, have grab your mother, whatever it is. Go out with her friends and do something like go on that wine tour for her weekend away, and then you're at home with the kids all weekend and stuff like that. So it's like because you both. The great thing about that, especially like. I've been together 18, married 15.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same as me. I think I'm 14 married, but yes.
Yeah, I'm a lifer. That's all that matters. It's but I just go. You do get to the point where, especially when you've gotten 4+ kids or any 2+ kids, your life becomes more about other people than yourself. And I'm like, that's not a reason to like sort of spring back and go 110% the other way, but it's the same time of like realizing that you do need both you and your partner need the ability to grow as individuals within your own relationship as well, because otherwise you will become the same person and you'd be like, oh yep, we know that, or you start just living only for the kids and you lose yourself as in your own identity.
Yep.
Which is a very, very dangerous place to be. So everyone needs active hobbies or ways to go out and do something for themselves, because it makes you and them a better partner for your whole. Because you bring out. If she goes in and hangs out with 10 other people that you don't, that's 10 other influences in the life that you can gain little nuggets of knowledge from. That is going to only enhance your life as a couple. Because you're both bringing in new things to. Pretty much it's like make everything better.
I that last bit, I could not agree anymore. Like that, it's the loss in the identity. If your identity becomes just your family and not yourself, is, I agree. I think it's actually dangerous because if something happens to that, the family or the partner or whatever, you go to very dark places. Let's just put it that way.
It's also like you're getting away from the mundane of like I said, everyone wants a winner. Everyone wants to date a winner or be around a winner. In regards to like if you're in the hobby and like not winning as in first overall, but like you're a person that is active, passionate about something, ticking off goals like self-development goals, army goals, result standing, stuff like that. Your endorphins and your physiological and mental state will be better enhanced through your achievements per se. That is going to bleed into your home life. Like it's like become a better lover, become a better father, husband, whatever, because you're someone that is amped up. Like our bodies are, humans are meant to compete. in that
Yep.
in a very healthy sense, and I'm like, if you're doing that comparatively to like not going out, not managing yourself well, being down in the dumps, everything's seen as negative, and you're not really offering up great solutions or great. The flip side of it is you got to work twice as hard. If you're having a weekend away, that means that you're giving her a weekend away, and then also you got to go. I've got to have a family weekend away to make sure that everyone's done. So it's like one weekend away equivalent to 3 weekends of that, and then you got household duties. I've got to stay home this weekend and do the yard and chop down that tree that's been overgrown and gutters and all that. So it's like your month is full. One event means that it's 3 weeks of catch-up work for your one.
Yeah.
But it's like rise to it and don't skirt away from the fact that I'm like, it will make you a better person, which is more fun to hang around.
And also, like, if you've got bigger goals, again, this is why the same page thing. Like, for WTC, I talked about this a different podcast, but there was, like, 4 months. I think it was 4 months of, like, full-on, what I'd consider full-on prep. Like, I missed a family dinner for one of my daughter's birthdays, for example. Like, I celebrated the actual birthday, but the dinner was a couple of days later. I had to miss that. Well, I chose to miss that because we had a training day that I valued higher because of what I was trying to go and where I was in my mind.
Yeah.
So 4 months, let's say, of pretty much full-on prep from my point of view.
Yep.
I played minimal 40k, an occasional game and 2 tournaments, which I won one and came second in the next one. Yeah, but that's a bit of like the overflow of that much fucking prep. But pretty much for that rest of that year, I played 2 extra tournaments. One because I was in Europe, right? So I played for Netherlands, and then the TNO that was like a week when I got back, and then I didn't play for like 3 months. Like 100%. I did 4 months of just full on prep, and then for like 3 to 4 months, I think January is when I got back into it because that was September.
Yeah. You got to have an off season. Right?
Yeah, in essence, and so I just went, nah, look, this is what I can promise you. Like, and this is that communication, being on the same page, etc. And it's unpleasant, but then you recognize that unpleasantness, and then say, look, this is how I'll make it up to you, so to speak. How I'll recognize that you had an unpleasant time, and I gallivanted around Europe for a month by myself, and so this is what I'll do. As part of that recognition, in essence. All right, look. Just going through, you lovingly sent me a couple of notes. Do you want to go through your notes and just see if there's anything else that you want to actually make sure you said? Because we're going to start wrapping this up.
Yeah, all right. Pretty much just recognition stuff. It's like we've got a couple of events coming up. So we've got, you've got all the links for show note type stuff that you're going to put in there.
Yeah.
So first one, we've got, who's coming first? Well, this weekend, we're doing a doubles as a palate cleanser. Nice to just get people in mingling and mucking around. So we've got doubles, which is a load of fun. That's run by Pete from ITA, Ipswich Tabletop Association. They're based out at Epic. So if you're out that way in Ipswich, come along and see us. We're out there Saturday. Then we've got John Davidson from QGG, Queensland Gamers Guild. He's doing the end of month GT, Winter Warfest. And he's done some amazing trophies and giveaways. He's got like little like laurels and stuff. So he's very much into his prop making stuff. His terrain is phenomenal. And it's getting more and more competitive as time goes on, but like it's very, very pretty. So awesome event, all laid back sort of stuff. It is a master's invite for that one as well. I think he's got about 30 of his 50 capacity filled, so still plenty of time. We've got Sinner from Auspicious Gaming in Townsville. He's been going ham, so he's got, I think he just finished up one of his master series, but he's always running things up there. He's one of our new TOs and new clubs. He's really building sort of our rural communities up there, so he's doing really great jobs. We've got some new stores, recognitions and stuff like that. So like we talked about having places to go and stuff like that. So these guys have been going up and beyond in regards to like making sure that there is actual gaming spaces for guys to meet new people. So we got Wargamers Hub out at Caboolture from John there. He's an amazing dude. Like he sponsors all our events. He doesn't sponsor any of my stuff, but he definitely helps out like QGG and ITA and stuff like that. We got John from Irresistible Force down here at 10 Marie, Logan Home. Absolute legend again. He has a massive gaming room. I think he's got like 20 odd tables there. Sponsors everyone. Sponsors a team to come to my events. He has an 80-person slow grow league. So if you're not really up to events, you can definitely hit him up and get involved in the slow grow league, which is great. Gets a lot of new guys playing and painting up new armies. A new one, we've got the Gaming Village out at, I'd like to say Pimpamar or Omaro, where Dreamworld sort of is, that sort of neck of the woods. That's Damien Koali and Andy Dunn. That's their new shop in Queensland. So I think they've got about 8 or 9 tables. You remember Damien, don't you?
I remember, and Andy as well.
And Andy, yep. So it's like they've guys have come back. But yeah, they've got a really good setup. They've got, I think, like 8 or 9 tables out there. But super nice dudes. Will help you with anything, stuff like that. So those are the 3 major ones that are going really, really well in Queensland. So I always like to try and talk them up and bring the focus onto them. If you can support them, that'd be great. Obviously, Pete for the Maggia case as well. You know, can't talk nicely about Pete. He's a beautiful human and does so much for, you know, definitely Ipswich Gaming as well as like the wider stuff. He does all my pretties up, all my players packs and all that for me.
Nice.
So yeah, because he's got a degree in that sort of field.
In prettying up.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure it's so much design. Like, it's not graphics design, but like you can see by, if you ever look at one of my packs, you can see what he does. It's amazing. Like,
yeah. No,
it makes it all
get
flow.
it. It's always one of the funny jokes. I got a graphic designer. Well, I've had graphic designers in my teams because I'm a designer by trade, and so it's always funny. It's like, can you pretty this up for me? And it's like, 4 years of uni or 3 years in uni to pretty things up.
Yeah, it's great. And so there's people in like the makeup and film, you know, they spend years of degrees to pretty things up. Yeah. No, it's like, otherwise it's dot point from me. That's like just factual. You know, that's what it is. This is the information.
That's right. 9 a.m. dot.
Yeah, dot.
Excellent. All right, mate. Well, thank you very, very much for your time today and all your wonderful information. I'm sure there was a lot of nuggets of information that you and I have shared to the dads and or mums of the competitive 40k universe. Or if you don't play 40k and you play some other game, that's fine. It's the same idea. You know, you could be a competitive Magic player. It's the same. It's pretty much the same concept.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So my fleeting thoughts as an outro is my last event is going to be in September. So we've sold out for August. Our last event will be another teams event. So if any interstaters are out there, get in contact with me via PM and I'll get you pre-registered for a team. But yeah, usually my events, they're 130 odd players. I give over $13,000 in prize support and trophies and giveaways on the event day. And then pretty much everything goes towards the end of years, which for a traveling team is probably not going to mean much, but definitely if you ever come to one of my events, you'll get a very showmanship type style event with banners everywhere and, you know, everything matching terrain and atmosphere and lollies and candy and all the fun stuff. Nice. But yeah, so if you haven't been to one of my events before, come along to that one in September. I'll be making it today, so I'll give you the link for the episode. But yeah, I'll be doing that, and then I'll have to take registrations. So don't just sign up to it on BCP if you see the thing. It's like, get in contact with me because I do have a wait list for most of my events, and I've got to make sure that those people are entered in first. So
excellent. Alrighty, guys, and hopefully that was interesting. If you guys want, what's Duck always says, the Dale man, subscribe your dogs or something like that. I don't know. I'm not as good as Duck as doing that, but yeah. So thank you very much. Be kind to your mother. Be kind to your mother. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, guys. Gotcha.